Imagine delivering every single feature perfectly on time, hitting your velocity metrics flawlessly, and still building a product that is considered a total failure in the market.
Yeah, it's a pretty brutal reality, honestly.
Right. Welcome to the reality of product management. And it's exactly what you need to understand to pass the PSPO-II exam. Welcome to today's deep dive.
Glad to be diving into this. Navigating this exam really requires a complete mindset shift away from just, getting things done.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to go through the core problem-solving logic of 5 actual practice questions from our sources. We will read the full text and break down every single option A through D so you can see those underlying patterns.
And you're definitely going to need those patterns. For context on the exam itself, you've got 60 minutes for 40 questions.
Which is pretty fast.
It is a sprint. They are multiple choice and multiple answer formats, all delivered in English. Some do offer partial credit, but, and this is the kicker, the passing bar is a punishing 85%.
Wow. Yeah, with an 85% passing bar, this exam is like a high-stakes sprint itself. There's just very little room for error.
Exactly. So let's start with that exact scenario you mentioned earlier, the perfectly on-time failure.
Okay, let's do it. Our first practice question asks, what is the best way for a product owner to measure the success of the product?
Let's hear the options.
Option A, by tracking the velocity of the developers over multiple sprints. Option B, by measuring the frequency of new feature releases. Option C, by observing the impact on customer satisfaction and business outcomes. Or option D, by ensuring that all items in the sprint backlog are completed on time.
So the correct answer here is absolutely C. Success is measured by the impact on customer satisfaction and business outcomes.
Just straight to the external impact.
Exactly. The reason options A, B, and D velocity, release frequency, and on-time completion are incorrect is because they measure internal output, not external impact.
I mean, you can run incredibly fast in the totally wrong direction.
Spot on. If the product doesn't solve a real user problem, its market value is basically zero.
Makes sense. So if true success is about external market outcomes, how does a product owner actually arrange their backlog to guarantee those outcomes?
That is the big question.
Right. And our second question tackles this. The product owner wants to apply a specific ordering to the product backlog. What is the most appropriate way to do this? Option A, order them strictly by the size of the items from smallest to largest. Option B, order them by whatever attributes the product owner deems most appropriate to maximize value. Option C, order them based on the chronological requests of the most important stakeholders. Or option D, order them by the technical dependencies identified by the developers.
We're looking at option B here. The product owner's judgment to maximize value must drive the ordering.
Wait, I really have to push back on that. As a product owner, isn't it incredibly risky to just ignore technical dependencies like in option D, or there's really loud, important stakeholders in option C?
Well, you aren't ignoring them. Like, dependencies and stakeholder requests absolutely exist, and they inform your context.
Sure, they're part of the picture.
Right. But ultimate value must dictate the priority. If you prioritize purely by arbitrary size, which makes option A incorrect, or just who asked for what chronologically in option C, your return on investment completely evaporates.
Yeah, that focus on return on investment gets incredibly messy when you scale up, too.
No, definitely.
Like, what happens when multiple teams are chasing that same value? Question 3 asks, 3 Scrum teams are currently building a single software product. Which of the following statements are correct? And we need multiple answers for this one.
The multi-select ones can be tricky. Let's break them down.
Okay, A, there should be only one shared product backlog for the product. B, each Scrum team should have a separate product owner. C, there is one product owner responsible for the entire product. D, each team must define its own unique product goal. E, the teams are permitted to have different sprint lengths.
The correct answers are A, C, and E.
Okay, A, C, and E.
Yeah, when scaling, you need a single shared backlog, that's A, and one overall product owner, that's C.
And what about the sprint lengths?
Option E is correct because different sprint lengths are technically permitted, even though they, complicate integration.
Yeah.
But B and D are completely incorrect.
Because splitting into separate product owners or unique product goals would just shatter your alignment.
Exactly. You'd end up with 3 teams building 3 totally different products.
Total fragmentation.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of things that destroy alignment, what about mid-sprint chaos?
Oh, my favorite.
Right. Question 4 sets up a classic dilemma. A key stakeholder complains that a critical feature is missing from the upcoming release. How should the product owner respond? Option A, immediately add the feature to the current sprint backlog to satisfy the stakeholder. Option B, ask the developers to work overtime to ensure the feature is included in the release. Option C, explain that the sprint is locked and no changes can ever be made until the next quarter. Or option D, discuss the feature's value with the stakeholder and place it appropriately in the product backlog.
I love the analogy you usually use for this.
Oh, the flight one. Yeah, to me, forcing a change mid-sprint isn't just annoying. It's like changing the destination of a commercial flight while it's already in the air.
Right.
You don't just add a stop. You have to recalculate fuel, trajectory, landing clearances. It disrupts the whole system.
That is the perfect way to look at it.
Yeah.
You don't hijack the flight. Option D is correct. You discuss the value and place it in the backlog appropriately.
And I'm guessing that makes A and B so, forcing it in mid-sprint or demanding overtime highly disruptive and definitely incorrect.
Yes, exactly. But option C is also incorrect because saying the sprint is strictly locked until next quarter is just overly rigid. I mean, Agile still requires adaptability, just controlled adaptability.
Controlled adaptability, I like that. Which brings us to how we actually prove that value at the end of the flight. Question 5 asks, why is it important for the Scrum team to create a usable increment at the end of every sprint?
Let's hear the final options.
Option A, to validate assumptions, gather empirical feedback, and adapt the future direction. Option B, to justify the financial budget spent on the developers during the sprint. Option C, to ensure the Scrum Master has a completed performance report for management. Or option D, to prove that the team is working hard and meeting their estimated velocity metric.
It really boils down to option A. Validating assumptions and adapting is the absolute essence of empirical feedback.
So it's not about the budget or the reports.
Not at all. Options B, C, and D are incorrect because they focus entirely on internal budgets, management reports, improving estimated velocity.
Creating an increment isn't about internal reporting at all then.
Right. It's about seeing if the product actually survives in the real world. Passing the PSPO-II means consistently applying this value-driven empirical mindset over rigid bureaucratic rules.
It's all about real-world impact. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive to clear that 85% hurdle.
It's tough, but totally doable with the right mindset.
Absolutely. But as you study, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. If maximizing value is your ultimate guiding metric, how do you accurately measure value for an entirely new product that hasn't even launched yet? How do you run that high-stakes sprint when the finish line is still completely invisible?